And I'm hella young. They call me Zombie Ray.
The next topic we're going to discuss on Boxing Bros are the rankings for the heavyweight division. The Dillian White law shook up the heavyweight division and it shook up the rating system. Now, if you look at BoxRec, they have the top 5 heavyweights is number 1, Tyson Fury. Number 2, Deontay Wilder. Number 3, Anthony Joshua. Number 4, Alexander Povetkin. And number 5, Alexander Usyk. If you go to Ring Magazine, they have the champion, who's really the number 1, Tyson Fury. Number 2, Anthony Joshua. Number 3, Deontay Wilder. Number 4, Alexander Povetkin. And number 5, Dillian White. And what's going on? All right. ESPN, if you go to their rankings, ESPN has number 1, Tyson Fury. Number 2, Anthony Joshua. Number 3, Deontay Wilder. Number 4, Andy Ruiz. And number 5, Alexander Povetkin.
Oh, that's crazy.
Just so you can get a look at their top 10. So now that we looked over the rankings, you can tell me which one you disagree with most, and then give me your top 5. I'll start one off with Trill Dollar Bill.
It's hard to say what I disagree with most, but I'm actually more leaning towards Ring magazines a little bit. This how it is mixed up. Any day you speak to me, right, and I have something in my cup, my top 5 is going to be different, right? So right now I have that number 1, I have AJ, and I have number 2, Fury. Number 3, I do have Wilder. Number 4, I have Andy. And after that stunning knockout on Dillian White, maybe I'm just riding high off emotions, but I think that Povetkin skipped over Parker, and I'm going to give him the 5th spot.
All right. G?
Yo, I got it exactly how ESPN got it. I got Fury number 1, AJ number 2, Wilder number 3, number 4 is Ruiz, and number 5 Povetkin. And the reason why is because, Fury's undefeated, and he dethroned Wilder, so he got the number 1 spot. Number 2 is AJ because extensive resume, but he did take a loss to Ruiz, even though he earned it back. That's what dropped him to number 2. If he remained undefeated, I would have had AJ number 1 over Fury. Wilder number 3 because Wilder again only lost to Fury. Ruiz at number 4 because Ruiz was a champion. Even though he lost in the rematch, still he was a champion. He had like 3-4 belts, so he gets that ranking for me. And Povetkin because of the performance he just did against Dillian White. On top of Dillian White, being the mandatory for WBC. So yeah, that's how I rank them.
I don't mean to cut you off, G. I think we got the same exact
AJ
except for the AJ and Fury thing. You know why? Because I wasn't punishing AJ for a loss. It happens when you're fighting killer after killer after killer after killer. Tyson Fury didn't have to fight killer after killer after killer after killer. And they both fought the same fighter, Klitschko, and AJ was the one that would be able to get him out of there. And AJ is the one with more, accomplished more inside that square circle. So that's why.
Yeah, I'm not mad at your ranking. Like, it makes sense to me. Like, I can understand when people go either or with AJ and Fury. You know what I mean? So I just basically,
as far as their rankings go, that's how I see it too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I just don't want to punish nobody because they had a loss. Because some of the greats done had losses.
Yeah, it's tough because honestly, you can make an obvious logical answer for AJ be number 1 because it's like it's consistency, right? It's like he's still fighting the top competitors all the time. You know what I mean? So if he takes one loss, do you really want to penalize him for that? But I'm just looking at it like, Fury has dethroned 2 certified champions. Klitschko, who had like a 10-year reign, Fury shut that down. And Wilder, who had like a 5-year reign, he shut that down. So Fury, to me, I'm like, and he's undefeated, lineal champ, whatever. Hey, you could get that number 1 spot. You know what I mean? And then AJ gets number 2.
I agree. I'll say, hey, any day, maybe.
I could flip flop on number 1 and 2. It's like it's whatever, you know.
Ned.
Yeah, I'll go. I'll give Fury just because he's held all the belts, but it's AJ's very close. It goes Fury, AJ. I gotta go Wilder. Then I'll go Povetkin because I did give it to White. Then I go Ruiz. Those are the top 5. But one of those rankings had
top 5 is right now. Can you please just give me your order from 1 through 5 again?
Fury, AJ, Wilder, Povetkin, Ruiz.
Okay.
And then one of those they had Luis Ortiz over Dillian White. That's crazy. Whoever did that, that's messed up.
All right, so
Which one was that?
I think it was.
Nah, I saw one of them. It might have been BoxRec because to me they have the worst one. So for me, BoxRec has the worst one. They have Wilder over AJ, which to me is just like, come on, man. So I'm actually going to show and go. So for me, the number 1's the hardest slot because you have Tyson Fury who beat Vladimir Klitschko. He won all the belts that AJ currently holds. However, he never defended them, and then they were broken up, and then AJ brought them all back together, beating the likes of Charles Martin, Vladimir Klitschko, and Joseph Parker. So you got to give Anthony Joshua credit for that. He's been active. Fury won all those belts by beating one guy, Vladimir Klitschko, and then he came back and he beat Deontay Wilder. To me, I don't look at it as he ended 2 certified champions. He beat 1 certified champion, and he beat one guy who never fought any opponent that was good until he faced Tyson Fury. And I think the sad part is for someone who's been a pro as long as Deontay Wilder, his toughest fight and his biggest fight and his first major fight was actually Tyson Fury, a man coming off a 2.5-year layoff. So when I look at it, I'm going to put Anthony Joshua in the number 1 slot, and it's for this reason. Anthony Joshua has beaten more of the active top 10 fighters than Tyson Fury. So here's Tyson Fury. This is ESPN's ranking, by the way. Anthony Joshua beat Andy Ruiz, ranked at number 4. He beat Alexander Povetkin, ranked at number 5. He beat Joseph Parker, ranked at number 6. He beat Dillian White, ranked at number 7. He's about to fight Kubrat Pulev at number 9, and then he's going to have to fight Alexander Usyk. So when you look at that, to me, that earns him the number 1 spot. Now, if we go to Tyson Fury, the only person on this list that Tyson Fury beat was Deontay Wilder. He's never fought Anthony Joshua. He's never fought Andy Ruiz. He's never fought Alexander Povetkin. He's never fought Joseph Parker. He's never fought Dillian White. He's never fought Andy Ruiz. He's never fought Pulev or Alexander Usyk. So for me, I can't give you victories if you never fought the person. See, Dillian White thought because Anthony Joshua beat Povetkin and that Michael Hunter gave Povetkin a tough fight, he was just going to go in there and beat Povetkin, and we saw Povetkin knock him out. So this is the reason why you can't give people victories unless they earn them in the ring. Joshua has earned victories against more of the active top 10 fighters than Tyson Fury. So that's the way I'm choosing to rate it. However, like G said, if you want to make Tyson Fury number 1, I'm not going to argue with you. I mean, to me, it's 1A, 1B, really, when we're talking about the top 2 slots. So I got Joshua 1, Fury 2. I do have Wilder at 3. Dillian White fell for me. I would normally have Dillian White at 3, but after being knocked out by Povetkin, not to say that Deontay Wilder would beat Povetkin, but Deontay Wilder's lost to Tyson Fury, and Tyson Fury is, to me, a better fighter than Alexander Povetkin. And although Deontay Wilder's lost to Tyson Fury, he has a draw with Tyson Fury that I'm taking into account. A draw means he fought Tyson Fury to a stalemate. Now, although I think Tyson Fury really won that fight, being objective, I'm going to look at his record and say, that draw looks pretty damn good, right? Imagine Tyson Fury goes on to beat AJ and beat all these people, and then you're the guy who drawed with him. That looks pretty damn good, right? So I'm going to give credit for the draw, and I'm going to put Deontay Wilder in at number 3. At number 4, I have Andy Ruiz. And the reason why I have Andy Ruiz at number 1 is because he has a split decision loss to Joseph Parker. Many people believe he won. And that fight was in Joseph Parker's backyard. He fought Anthony Joshua, and he beat Anthony Joshua. He stopped Joshua, and then he has a decision loss to Joshua. To me, he showed that he's a championship fighter, and he beat arguably the number 1 heavyweight in the game today. How do you not get credit for that? I do not know. And so at number 5, I have Dillian White. So Dillian White dropped 2 slots on my list, and I'm gonna go back here. Here's why I have Dillian White. Now, Dillian White, he beat Joseph Parker. He beat Derek Chisora. He beat Oscar Rivas. At the time he beat those guys, they were ranked very high. And he dropped Alexander Povetkin twice, and then he got knocked out cold. So when I look at the fight, I think Dillian White was a huge victory for Povetkin. But I think when you look at what Dillian White has done throughout the course of the years, the names he has on his resume, I still think his resume is better than Povetkin's. I wouldn't have ranked Hakeem Rahman over Lennox Lewis when he knocked Lennox out in the second round at that time. Although he did beat Lennox, right? It's like when I look at it, I'm like, you got to do it again because you're not better than Lennox. Like, you know, so
the question, what happens if Povetkin beats Dillian in the rematch?
Then he goes up. That's 2 solid victories. I think like you have to look at it, and you can't remove common sense from like the equation. When I watched Hakeem Rahman knock out Lennox, the first thing I thought was, oh shoot. And then immediately after, I thought Lennox gonna F him up in the rematch. Like,
Lennox was a different dog than a Dillian. You know?
I understand, but when you look at it, like Dillian dropped this man twice, and then he got too comfortable, and then Povetkin put his lights out. Now Povetkin could put his lights out again, and what I'm saying is, if Povetkin puts his lights out again, I'll put him up. Now we're only doing top 5. Povetkin has moved up on my list as well. But remember, I had Dillian at 3 originally over Deontay Wilder. He dropped 2 slots for me. I had him over Ruiz as well. But now Ruiz and Wilder have gone up over Dillian as a result of the loss. But Povetkin was already in the top 10. Povetkin's not a bum. He got knocked out. It happens. He got knocked out by a certified, legitimate heavyweight who's been in there against top competition and has given tough fights to everyone he's been in the ring with. So I'm not gonna like remove Dillian from the top 5. I'm not about to place Luis Ortiz over Dillian and act like he has a better resume than Dillian.
That's wild, Joe. I don't know how that happened.
I'm not gonna do that. But at the same time, I think knocking out Dillian White, it moves Alexander Povetkin up, but I still don't think he has a better resume than Dillian. And even in watching that fight, Dillian was beating him and had him on the way out. So it's like, I need to see it again. If he beats Dillian again, then it's like, okay. To me, I still see this as probably a Hakeem Rahman, Lennox Lewis type of situation where, all right, you caught Lennox slipping, now Lennox is going to come back and get you. And you know what? Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe it'll be poor Dillian all over again. But that's just how I see it right now. So I got one.
I'm totally not mad at that.
Exactly.
How I looked at it is like, you remember when, Eddie Kane, when he went to Flash's room in the 5 Heartbeats, and he said, you want my spot, Flash? Well, you ain't gonna get it, because you ain't got it, right? So I always thought, if you beat that person, you take their spot. You know what I'm saying? So I had Dillian White at 5. And I figured since the guy that beats him, you take his spot.
Yeah, that's how I look at
it.
it.
Beats him.
Yeah, I look at it the same way. Yeah.
And I can't.
But Kaden made a good point.
Yeah, but you definitely made a good point. That's what I was saying. How I was looking at it. You made a great point. I was just saying how I was looking at it.
Yeah, because Luis did beat AJ, but he couldn't beat him the second time. You know what I mean?
And at that time, when he beat him, he was on top of the world. He was number one. You know what I'm saying? He hold that. He was going around. He was beating the president of Mexico.
They had a rank number 3. They had they still have Fury and Wilder ranked over him. Yeah. Hold on. You can. I have no issue with putting Povetkin at number 5, but when I look at body of work, especially over the last 2 years, Dillian White has been putting in work. So
totally agree. Just that one loss shouldn't drop you down so much. But I've always believed if somebody, you know, you go to that man's spot, you take their spot, you hold that spot down till that man come back.
No, I respect that way of thinking. You pointed out with AJ, when you fight killer after killer after killer, sometimes
you're bound to lose one.
Yeah.
Body and he's taking risks when he didn't even have to. You know, he's taking these risks, fighting these dangerous fights back to back to back to back, and he got clipped. He was getting clipped a lot. So I mean, I pointed it out. I have concerns. I wouldn't be shocked to see Povetkin do it again, but I still have him in just because I think his resume is still slightly better, and even the way they performed in that fight. But if you put Povetkin at number 5, I'm not arguing with you. He knocked Dillian White out cold. So what argument do I have? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Let us know how you feel. Please like and subscribe. Check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Also, check out our podcast on all major streaming services. This is the Boxing Bros.
Catch me creeping down the dark street. This is where me and the zombies meet. Guarantee we all gonna eat. It's Zombie Ray again with HD. I'm a zombie in the night, you better run from me. Zombie Ray in the house, you better run, homie. Brought a mask and some gloves with some thugs with me. I came to do damage, you wanna purge with me. Super Saiyan zombie, I'll be